So hi, I'm Roheen Pandey, and this is my video project presentation on basic biomechanical movements applied and extended. So a big reason I chose this topic was because it was really different from everyone else's. I feel like we all kind of did vectors and those kind of things and inertia, Newton's laws, but I think it'd be a bit strange in my opinion if we all chose to do the same kind of things. And so I also chose this because I think it's important to get back to the basics at some point, and really hone in on the things we only briefly touch up on. And this can also be applied to everything we do within the field of exercise science, especially in the world of lifting, which I want to work in. And when we understand the basic functions and what movements we're doing, we can be thorough in everything we do. So, what are the basic movements themselves? Firstly, we have flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, internal rotation, and finally external rotation. And these names seem fairly similar to one another, and that does have a reason. These movements oppose one another and have antagonists that act in such a manner. And so these can occur at different joints. These aren't all the joints, obviously, but flexion can occur in the wrist, knee, shoulder, and the hip. This can also apply to extension. These pretty much apply to most everything you'll see in the slides. So firstly, we're going to start with flexion. So the textbook definition of flexion is where the angle between two adjacent segments decrease. It is also seen as a bending movement. So this can occur commonly at the knees and the wrist as well as the elbow. We kind of already touched upon this. So during the execution of certain movements, such as the bicep curl, it's probably one of the best examples of an elbow flexion movement that we use. Um, it also uses a small component of shoulder flexion. And so when we look here at the concentric contraction, the angle is actually decreasing as we go. And then when the muscle actually lengthens during the eccentric, the the angle increases. And so the opposing action of this would be extension. So extension is defined as the exact opposite, where the angle increases and is more of a straightening movement. And this can be seen within the triceps pushdown, which you see right here, which is one of the best uses of elbow extension. And then we go to abduction, and abduction is defined as a movement away from the midline of the body. And we see this when we raise our legs or our arm. And one of the best exercises we see with this is lateral raise, which is primarily used for the side delt. And if you look over here, the arm is moving away from the midline of the, or moving away from the midline of the body, sorry. And I know people can get this confused a lot between abduction and adduction, and the best way to think about it is the way I was taught was abduction is abducting something, like an alien can abduct, and then adduction would be the exact opposite, or some people also call this adduction. So it's a movement towards the midline of the body, and you can commonly see this in a jumping jack when you return to the starting position, or simply the adduction machine in the gym, because there's not really any other exercises we train adduction in, I'd probably say. And we also see this in the hip, the complex of the adductors and the abductors for the hips, and that's why we're training this right here. And then we go towards internal external rotation, which also can be kind of confusing for the most part. And so internal rotation is referred to when the anterior surface of the segment moves toward the midline while the posterior moves away for it. And we can also call this medial rotation if we remember directional terms. Medial just means going towards the midline of the body, going in. And so internal rotation is actually not is actually pretty demonized within the community itself of fitness. And so it's believed that it causes a lot of discomfort, shoulder impingement, those kind of things. And we see this with the upright row exercise right over here, where your arms are put in a really unnatural position that people think it's supposed to be for a side delt exercise. So a lot of people still do this, but this is still up for speculation. But for most people, it's very uncomfortable. But we also do train internal rotation itself. You can see right here. We train them for the muscles of the rotator cuff, but we just do it in a way that there's graded exposure where we work up to a tolerable level that we can handle and then eventually strengthen that. And of course, on the opposite side of the spectrum, we have external rotation where the posterior moves towards the midline while the anterior surface moves away. And we call that lateral rotation because we're moving towards the outside of the body. And you see this right here where he's starting from this position on the outside and moving out. And this is also seen very well in a face pull, which is another movement people use to train the rotator cuffs as well. And so there are other movements as well we can look into. So there's pronation, supination, inversion, eversion, plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, retraction, protraction, elevation, depression, hyperextension, circumduction. These aren't as commonly as seen because they're all very specific to a different part of the body, which you'll see here. Supination and pronation mostly occur at the wrist for the most part. Supination is highly involved with biceps as you mostly do a bicep curl in that area. Inversion and eversion usually we see at the feet or the ankle, and most ankle sprains occur during inversion, where it's a lateral ankle sprain because inversion is turning laterally. And then We don't really see eversion as much. It's not really a common movement at all, so we don't see ankle sprains happen that much within eversion. Dorsiflexion and plantar flexion, every day we're walking, a lot of people walk on their heels, which is more dorsiflexion. If you point your toes downward, it's more plantar flexion. We see this in like a calf raise because you're usually pointing your toes down to lift up the calf muscles with plantar flexion. Um, this is also kind of speculation as well because they're both flexions, but they're not both flexions. One of them has to be an extension. So people want to actually call plantar flexion plantar extension. Retraction and protraction, we see that within the scapula. Our scapula is hanging back. That's more retraction while it's rolling forward, like most people are at a desk recording this right now. That's protraction. And one of the actual biggest cues for bench press right now that people are debating is retraction of the scapula, or if we should let our scapula move freely for scapular humeral rhythm. Um, my take is still retraction of the scapula will lead to a stronger press and a more stable body and joint as a whole. And then we go towards elevation and depression of the scapula as well. Also for bench press, we see scapular depression to hold the most strength and the most stability with that. Elevation is mostly for any kind of shrug movement or anything like that. And then another thing we haven't touched upon is hyperextension. So hyperextension, you can see when the body, we obviously can go through extension in different joints, but hyperextension just takes it past the 0 point that where it's not supposed to exactly go to. And circumduction is mostly just rotation of the arm or the leg. And that's really all I have. I think just kind of touching up on these and explaining them more and showing real examples within the world of weights or like the world of training itself can kind of help people understand because we see elbow flexion and we kind of think this or that, but like actually showing real life examples and where elbow flexion might be applied and why elbow extension would also be applied could definitely help.